Tell me who you are.
I'm Doña Edna, your mother.
This is Change Over Time, a podcast where I think historically about things I geek. I'm Daniel Horowitz Garcia, the alternative historian. Before we get started with the show, I'd like to do a shout out to another podcast. Take a quick listen.
Hi, I'm Martin Baum, and I'm the host of Story Untold, a podcast about ordinary people with extraordinary lives. From traveling the world and working as a journalist, I've seen that everyone has a story to tell, and on this podcast, you get to hear those stories. Story Untold is about the incredible things that happen in life, the moments that change everything. Head to your favorite podcast app and search Story Untold, or head to storyuntold.blueberry.com. Enjoy the show.
Puerto Ricans, you guys are very easy to identify. Most Latinos, you got to listen to the Spanish. Puerto Ricans, I give it up. You're easy to identify because there's always a flag nearby. Puerto Ricans love the Puerto Rican flag. And I know why. Because no one's looking for you. You can be as proud as you want. Wepa! All day long. If you don't know the Puerto Rican flag, it's very easy to identify. It's red, white, and blue. It has one big star on it, a triangle, and it's like the American flag, but tweaked. It's like the Cuban flag, but backwards in the colors. Yeah, you guys love that flag. You will put that flag on anything. Freaking bumper sticker, hat, t-shirts, wallets, a baby's born.
Today's episode is a continuation of the Aftermath series, a multi-part look at Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria through the lens of my family. This is a continuation of the conversation with my mother, Doña Edna Garcia. This part of the conversation focuses more on Puerto Rico's relationship with the United States and a bit of a history lesson. In the last episode, my mom talked about how many people on the island are flying the Puerto Rican flag. She sees this as a sign of rising nationalism. During the conversation, my mother also talked about why this simple act, flying a flag, has such importance on the island. Here's more from my mother, Doña Edna Garcia.
It started with the truckers. They were the first one to hang a big Puerto Rican flag on the trucks. But then it has filtered out to everybody. I think it's a good opportunity to create a movement to change the way politics are in Puerto Rico. And I'm very glad to see every car with a Puerto Rican flag flying high and the houses with the flags up high. Thank God that now we have the freedom to show that flag, to put it up in your car, to put it up in your front porch or up high in your house. Because there was a time up to practically the 60s where if you show that flag like I have it in my front porch, they would come at night. The police had a department that it was called Departamento de Inteligencia de la Policía de Puerto Rico. And they would come and they would charge me with being a socialist and a communist and I wanted to take over the government, and I will disappear into the night and I will have all kinds of charges and I will be in jail just for showing my flag. Now you can hang the light blue one or the dark blue one, so long as it's a Puerto Rican flag. So it's good. It makes me very happy when I see everybody with that flag in their cars.
The law my mother is referring to is the Gag Law, also known as Law 53 or La Ley de la Mordaza, passed in 1948 and signed by a U.S. appointed governor. Modeled on the Smith Act, the law made it illegal to display or own a Puerto Rican flag. It even made it illegal to say certain words, like patria. The law was used to suppress activists for independence as well as anyone else who disagreed with the government. It was eventually repealed in 1957.
The original flag, it's the one with the sky blue triangle. And the navy blue triangle is what we Puerto Rican call the Munoz flag. Mm-hmm. Munoz was an independentista. And he decided, when he ran for politics, he decided to create his own party, which, it was okay. But at the same time, he created the navy blue triangle flag, what they call to please the Americans. Mm-hmm. Because that's not the original flag. Puerto Rican flag is with the sky blue triangle. But, People say, and I repeat it, that he did it to please the Americans. That's why they call it La Bandera de Munoz.
Munoz is Luis Munoz Marin. He was the first elected governor of Puerto Rico in 1948. Before him, governors had been appointed by the U.S. or Spain. Originally in favor of independence, Munoz is best known for helping to usher in the current political status of Puerto Rico. This was done in 1952 through a plebiscite. My mom has a lot to say about plebiscites. Let me explain some stuff here. On June 11, 2017, Puerto Rico held a referendum supposedly to determine the political status of the island. There were three options: statehood, independence/free association, or keeping things the same. More than 97% of the vote went to statehood. That's pretty decisive, yes? It's all figured out. Except, no, it's not. Most everyone who didn't support statehood stayed home. Voter turnout was 23%. In comparison, voter turnout in Puerto Rico averages somewhere around 80%. Most people didn't vote because the major parties, with the exception of the statehood party, objected to the process for a variety of reasons. Governor Ricardo Rosselló, a member of the statehood party, has decided to run with the results anyway. More than that, at least according to my mom, he was instrumental in screwing all this up.
It's time we define ourselves. It's been 500 years. And I wish we get a government that will take us to that, but without tricks. If the people want to vote for statehood, fine. But do it clearly. Do it without tricks. Well, like they did in this past plebiscite. First of all, he defined the Commonwealth. He defined the independence. And he defined statehood. And if you don't want to participate on the plebiscite, well, don't do it. I'm going to do it. And he went to the plebiscite with his people. And then they say, well, the statehood won by 94%, I think. But the independence movement didn't go down to vote. The Commonwealth people, the voto popular, didn't go down to vote. It was all the statehooders. It was all aligned so they could show Congress that the statehood won. I believe that if you're going to have a plebiscite, the populares should define their ideology, the PIP. If there's a sovereignty movement, they should, and then the statehood, because the independentistas don't define statehood. That belongs to the statehooders. They define the independence and Commonwealth, and then the independent leaders and the popular leaders said, no, we're going to boycott that because you didn't invite us for to write down the definitions. So they asked the people to boycott it, and the populares didn't go down to vote, and the independentistas either.
So that's where we are now. So what should happen? My mother is a sovereignista. This is an idea that has some popularity on the island, although there isn't an official party representing the position. She defines it here, quite poetically, actually.
A soberanista is, well, it's not really an independentista, but it's someone that doesn't want this Commonwealth kind of government that works towards having a Puerto Rico with its own government, with that we can make our own path, that we can go forward and make our own path, walking with our two legs, without having to depend on everything from Washington. With a relationship with the United States, it doesn't mean that we want to kick the Americans out. It doesn't mean that we don't want the military protection, even the money, the currency. We want a relationship with Washington as two sovereign states. You have your government, you have your laws, and I have my government, and I have my laws, and we have an association of two sovereign states.
My mother has a plan. She looks at the present relationship of some of the former British colonies to the UK and thinks that could be a model.
I think It could be done. I don't understand how come the United States doesn't do like England did. The United Kingdom did that in the 60s with its colony. When it gave its independence to Jamaica, Antigua, Trinidad, when it made a mancomunidad, Barbados, the British Virgin Islands, it's a mancomunidad. They still have the relationship with England. Something happens in Jamaica, in a minute, the British paratroopers are going to be there, but they're able to force their own destiny, to mark its own destiny as a country, to walk its own way. Why can't we do that? Why can't Washington give us that? It should give that to all the 5 territories. Because let's face it, we are a colony. It's an empire, and empires have colonies. It's that simple.
Doña Edna has a vision for a political future. She also has a historical model for implementation. What she's waiting for is a vehicle to get there. When she talks about the flags and the cars and the potential political movement that could be built, that's what she's hoping for. Honestly, she's not the only one. You can find more information about Change Over Time at changeovertimepodcast.com. I also tweet at Daniel Alt Hist. Take a moment to rate this 5 stars. It helps people find the podcast. Safe travels.